The person who lost you may never admit how much your absence changed them. They may never tell you that losing you became one of the quietest regrets of their life. Think about that for a moment. Not every regret arrives with tears. Not every loss is followed by an apology. Sometimes the deepest regrets are hidden behind silence, pride, and the desperate need to pretend that everything is fine. Have you ever noticed how some people can walk away from something valuable as if it meant nothing, only to spend years haunted by what they left behind? Maybe you've experienced it yourself. Someone who once had unlimited access to your kindness suddenly treated it as ordinary. Someone who knew your loyalty stopped appreciating it. Someone who could have held on tighter slowly loosened their grip until you slipped away from their life. And then, nothing. No dramatic confession. No message saying, "I was wrong." No grand attempt to explain what happened. Just silence. But silence can be deceiving, because silence doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes silence is where pride hides. Sometimes silence is where regret lives. Tonight, I want to tell you a story, not about revenge, not about making someone suffer, but about something far more powerful. Understanding what often happens inside the mind of the person who let someone valuable go. Because the strange truth is this: people often understand your worth most clearly after they can no longer reach you. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once wrote that we rarely value what we possess until it is absent, and nowhere is that lesson more painful than in human relationships. So if you've ever wondered whether the person who lost you truly understood what they lost, stay with me, because what you're about to hear may completely transform the way you see your own story. Chapter 1. They didn't realize your value until life removed your presence. Imagine a man who lives beside the ocean his entire life. Every morning he hears the waves. Every evening he watches the sunset. For years he barely notices either. Why? Because human beings have a dangerous habit. We become blind to what is constantly available. The extraordinary slowly becomes ordinary. The miracle becomes routine. And people are no exception. The person who lost you may have fallen into this trap, not because they hated you, not because they consciously wanted to hurt you, but because familiarity creates an illusion. The illusion that what exists today will exist tomorrow. The illusion that loyalty will always remain. The illusion that someone who loves you will never leave. Psychologist Carl Jung often spoke about unconscious behavior, how people act without fully understanding the forces driving them. Many relationships end not because of hatred, but because of unconscious neglect. People stop noticing, stop appreciating, stop investing. They begin treating precious things as permanent things, and that is where the tragedy begins. At first, when you left, they may have felt surprisingly fine. Life continued. The sun still rose, their phone still buzzed, friends still called, the world didn't collapse. But life has a strange way of revealing value through contrast. Weeks later, they encountered a moment that reminded them of you. Months later, they faced a challenge where your support would have mattered. A year later, they met someone new and realized something felt missing. Little by little, absence started teaching lessons that presence never could. That's the irony of human nature. When someone is beside us, we often see only their flaws. When they're gone, we begin seeing their gifts, the laughter, the patience, the understanding, the comfort, the rare feeling of being truly known. And suddenly, what once felt ordinary becomes irreplaceable, like a traveler dying of thirst, finally understanding the value of water. By then, however, realization often arrives too late, because some doors are not closed by anger, they are closed by growth. And once a person has grown beyond the version of themselves that tolerated being undervalued, they rarely return. That is the first truth the person who lost you may never admit. They didn't fully understand your worth until your absence forced them to. Chapter 2. They secretly compare others to you. After someone loses a meaningful person, they often tell themselves a comforting story. I'll find someone else. And in many ways, they're right. Life introduces new people. New conversations begin. New relationships form. New faces appear where old faces once existed. But there is a hidden problem with this belief. Replacement and connection are not the same thing. Imagine breaking a handmade watch passed down through generations. You can buy another watch, perhaps an expensive one, perhaps a newer one. But no matter how beautiful it is, it cannot replace the history attached to the original. People are much the same. The person who lost you may eventually meet dozens of new individuals. Some may be attractive, some may be successful, some may seem perfect on paper. Yet every now and then, a strange comparison quietly appears in their mind. A conversation feels less genuine, a laugh feels less natural, a moment feels less understood. And suddenly, without meaning to, they remember you. Not because you were perfect, but because you were uniquely you. This is something modern culture rarely talks about. We live in a world that treats people as infinitely replaceable. If one relationship ends, social media promises another. If one connection fades, countless profiles wait online. But human souls do not work like algorithms. Depth cannot be mass-produced. Authenticity cannot be copied. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche warned that what is rare is often difficult to appreciate because it doesn't resemble the ordinary. Rare people challenge us. Rare people reveal us. Rare people leave marks that cannot be erased. And when such a person leaves, comparison becomes unavoidable. Not always consciously, not every day, but enough. Enough for certain songs to trigger memories. Enough for certain places to feel different. Enough for certain conversations to remind them of what once existed. Sometimes they will never admit this. Pride won't allow it. Ego won't allow it. The story they've told themselves about moving on won't allow it. Yet, deep inside, a quiet measurement continues. Not because nobody else is valuable, but because every meaningful person creates a shape in our lives that nobody else can perfectly fit. And that shape remains. Years later, they may smile with someone else, build a life with someone else, create memories with someone else. Yet occasionally they will encounter a moment that whispers a difficult truth. There was something different about that person. And that realization can be both beautiful and painful. Beautiful because genuine connection existed. Painful because they didn't fully recognize it when they had the chance. That is the second truth. The person who lost you may never admit. Part of them keeps comparing others to what they once found in you. Chapter 3. The regret they hide behind pride. There is something fascinating about pride. It can make a person climb mountains, build empires, and survive impossible hardships. But it can also become a prison with invisible walls. The person who lost you may have discovered this truth long after you were gone, because regret is rarely the painful part. Most people can admit regret to themselves. The real struggle begins when regret demands humility, when it whispers, "You were wrong, you should have listened, you should have valued what you had." And for many people that is a truth they are not prepared to face. Imagine standing in front of a shattered mirror. You know the reflection belongs to you. You know you caused the crack. Yet admitting responsibility feels more painful than pretending the mirror was already broken. This is how pride protects itself, not through honesty, but through stories. Stories like, "It wasn't that important. They weren't that special. I made the right decision. I'm happier now." And sometimes these stories are repeated so often that they begin to feel true. But deep down, the unconscious mind remembers. Carl Jung once observed that what we resist often persists. The feelings we refuse to confront do not disappear. They simply move underground. And there they continue shaping our thoughts, emotions, and decisions. The person who lost you may never call you, may never send a message, may never publicly acknowledge their mistake. But that does not mean they escaped the lesson. Life has a way of becoming a teacher. Every meaningful connection they lose afterward may remind them of the connection they once neglected. Every moment of loneliness may quietly echo an old memory. Every disappointment may reveal the value of what they once took for granted. This is why some people become strangely nostalgic years later, not because they want the past back, but because they finally understand it. The tragedy is that understanding often arrives after opportunity has already passed, like a student discovering the answer after the examination has ended, like a traveler finding the map after getting lost, like a gardener realizing the beauty of a flower only after it has withered. And perhaps the hardest realization of all is this: the people we hurt are not always waiting for us. Time changes them, pain transforms them, growth introduces them to new versions of themselves. The person who once begged to be understood eventually learns to walk away. The person who once waited eventually stops waiting. The person who once needed validation eventually discovers their own worth. And when that happens, regret becomes heavier, because now the loss is no longer hypothetical. It is real, permanent, unreachable. That is the third truth the person who lost you may never admit. Their pride may be stronger than their voice, but it is not stronger than their regret. Chapter 4. Why losing you may have changed them forever. There is one final truth that few people talk about. Not every loss destroys a person. Some losses transform them, and the person who lost you may never admit that losing you became one of the events that quietly reshaped their entire life. Think about a forest after a wildfire. From a distance, all you can see is destruction, burned trees, blackened ground, a landscape that appears ruined. But beneath the ashes, something unexpected is happening. Seeds that could never grow under ordinary conditions suddenly begin to awaken. New life emerges from devastation. The forest is never the same again. Neither are people. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche famously wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." What many people discover after a significant loss is a deeper understanding of themselves. Not immediately, not during the pain, but afterward, long after the relationship ends, long after the conversations stop, long after the silence settles, because losing someone valuable forces a confrontation with reality. It forces a person to ask difficult questions. Why did I take them for granted? Why didn't I communicate better? Why was I so afraid of vulnerability? Why did I assume they would always stay? Questions like these become mirrors, and mirrors, though uncomfortable, reveal truth. Perhaps they became more grateful because of losing you. Perhaps they learned to appreciate others more deeply. Perhaps they finally understood the importance of loyalty, patience, kindness, or emotional presence. Ironically, some of life's greatest teachers are the people we fail to keep, not because they intended to teach us, but because their absence exposes parts of ourselves we could not previously see. This is why certain people remain unforgettable. Not because they were flawless, not because they were perfect, but because they became part of our transformation. They changed the way we think, the way we love, the way we trust, the way we understand ourselves. And even if years pass, the lesson remains, the memory remains, the impact remains. The person who lost you may never confess this. They may never tell friends, they may never tell family, they may never tell you, but somewhere in the quiet corners of their life, your absence may have become one of the reasons they evolved into a different human being. That is the final truth. Sometimes the people we lose become the people who shape us most. And now, before you leave, I want you to consider something. What if the real story was never about whether they regret losing you? What if the real story is about what happened to you after the loss? Because while they may spend years wondering what they lost, you spent years becoming someone stronger. While they may replay old memories, you were creating new ones. While they may remain trapped between pride and regret, you were learning how to move forward. The Stoics believed that we suffer not because life changes, but because we resist change. Yet every ending carries within it the seed of a beginning. Every heartbreak contains a hidden invitation. Every loss asks a question: will this break you, or will it reveal you? Perhaps the person who lost you will never admit the truth. Perhaps they will never send the message. Perhaps they will never speak the words you've imagined hearing. And perhaps that is perfectly okay, because closure was never supposed to come from their confession. It was supposed to come from your understanding. Your understanding that your value was never determined by their ability to recognize it. Your worth was never dependent on their appreciation. Your significance was never reduced by their blindness. The sun remains the sun even when someone closes their eyes. And a diamond remains a diamond even when someone mistakes it for a stone. So let them carry whatever lessons they must carry. Let them learn whatever truths life chooses to teach them. And you, keep walking, keep growing, keep becoming. Because one day you'll look back and realize something extraordinary. The greatest revenge was never making them regret losing you. The greatest victory was becoming someone who no longer needed them to. If this message spoke to something deep within you, then take a moment tonight and ask yourself, who have I become because of what I survived? The answer may change your life forever.